All right, welcome back to Chat Room. This is Michael here. I'm with my co-host.
John?
And we're going to talk about something that is on all of our minds, and that is the potential of a recession. And one angle I thought was particularly interesting because a lot of people are crunching the numbers, going through, will it be a recession? Will it not be a recession? But BuzzFeed has a cool article that really fits well with our podcast and specifically you and I, John, and something unique about us we've covered before, which is our generational differences.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, and specifically BuzzFeed kind of is looking at how Gen Zers, such as yourself, and millennials, such as myself, are looking at the recession because it's definitely different because, I think you recall the last recession. It may have been hitting more of your family, but for me, it was right when I was getting out of college. So I'm kind of like this author of the article who's basically like, oh yeah, I remember 2011. It was tough. It was a really rough job market. We must be the same ages, this writer and I, because I was definitely getting out of college. I guess I was just moving from grad school, and even grad school had already kind of started because I'm like, it's really hard to get a job. I guess I can just do more education. But then it's like, oh, more student loans, and yeah, so I'm not excited about the thought, but apparently Gen Z, folks such as yourself, see it either as an opportunity or are just kind of like, what else could go wrong? Life
Right.
is really hard right now.
Yeah.
Specifically, something I'm curious about your thought is like, again, do you recall like the initial recession now about 13 years ago?
Yeah, I do recall it a little bit. I wasn't that old. It was in 2008, so I was like, I wasn't driving yet, so I don't even think I was like, I think it was around 15 years old, something like that. Kind of like early high school, late middle school.
Yeah.
I do remember like my dad telling me that like some of his friends were getting laid off or something like that, and I remember, which I'm not gonna speak on his name, but I remember one of my friends' dad like foreclosing their home, and I also remember one of my friends' dads buying a foreclosure home and doing really well at that time. So, but at the time I was so young, I didn't actually know like what all that meant. You know what I mean? But now looking back at it, that's what I recall from it from being so young.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's definitely kind of, I mean, even again, living through it, that's very much my image of it too.
Yeah.
And I'll kind of present some of the reason that Gen Z are thinking that maybe, again, there's either the cynical, like, can life get any harder? Might as well happen view. Uh, or as you would coin it, that's how it be sometimes.
Yeah, it'd be like that sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. But also, their thought is maybe a recession will, take the crazy housing market and make it affordable again. Maybe prices will come down
Hmm.
and it'll kind of be a reset culturally, perhaps, but definitely economically.
Right, yeah. That's a big topic nowadays, like whether home prices are going up and up and up and up, or if they're going down and down and down and down.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you see that? And this is the kind of stuff you kind of follow a lot more than I do.
Yeah.
Do you see that as a possibility, or to you would a recession just be a complete negative?
To be honest, I see both. Like, and a lot of people hate this answer, but I definitely see, like, like our world is just full of debt. Everyone bought an expensive home, but at the same time, the inventory's low, that's a fact. So, but inflation's high, so that's also a fact. So, if the feds want to possibly crack down on that inflation and really drop it, then there's going to be some rough times, I personally think. But at the same time, if they just kind of approach it like they have since 2008, home prices probably will keep growing. That's how I feel. I think it's a 50-50. I think it's up to the feds. I think it's up to, the inventory. Inventory? Is there enough inventory being built in the community you're living in? Is there enough construction? What's the wood supply? I think all those things really factor in, and I don't think anybody has like a accurate answer.
Yeah, I would say another kind of item again on the cynical side for Gen Z is kind of the as BuzzFeed puts it, we have nothing left to lose. I've always thought of you, John, as somebody that's maybe a little more um, kind of well off is probably the wrong term, though I would think that would be appropriate. But you're just a little more better positioned
Yeah.
than a lot of people your age. So
Right.
do you feel like they say millennials, might, where they finally have, maybe a little bit of money or, you know,
Yeah.
have a home and they're worried about that? Or do you think that you're more in the nothing to lose category of your generation?
I feel like I'm more in the nothing to lose, but at the same time, like, I have a savings account, I have a retirement account, and I'm not going to put, I guess, on the air how much that is, but that is something to lose in my eyes because, I've been working the last 3, 4 years of my life and it's taken all that to get to the point I am. I might not have a house, I might not have boats, I might not have life insurance, to the maxed out, and it could all come crumbling down in my face. But this is the starting point for 23-year-olds, 24-year-olds, and I don't know how other 23-year-olds are positioned, but I know I have some stuff to lose. It's just not at the rate of like a millennial or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and that kind of so the BuzzFeed article thankfully doesn't just kind of have this gloom and doom, kind of pit generations against each other. It's actually got some tips too.
Yeah.
And I know it can seem really hard right now, but you're kind of referencing one that they start out with, which is basically, if you can, build up your savings,
Mhm.
because even a little savings is better than none.
Mhm. Right.
So it sounds like something you would wholeheartedly agree with.
Right. Yeah. For sure. And I think one thing I've already noticed, because technically we're already in a recession, because I think it's like if interest rates go up or no, actually,
It's two GDP quarters
yeah, yeah,
go down in a row.
yeah. So I think
Um,
hasn't that already happened?
I don't think it has, but I know that part of the timeliness, if you listen to this podcast right when it goes out, is that we're actually just about to get a lot of those numbers for the
Mm-hmm.
month of, just to give you a timestamp, July, the year of 2022.
Yeah.
So it's very well possible we may have that. And I think you're not out of line to say that economists already feel that way,
Mm-hmm.
because it's quite possible that metric is outdated anyways, since so many of us feel the hurt, even if the GDP is going strong.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, yeah, I think that's totally reasonable. Something that they kind of put as their second item for how to deal with a recession is they put it get more out of your current resources. I'm trying to think of what a specific example would be, but even though fortunately gas prices are going down,
Mm-hmm.
it'd be something as simple as carpooling.
Yeah.
If you're able to go with family, if you're able to stretch something, if you're able to be like, hey, John, I can't pay for my Netflix account this month, but I'll give you my Hulu if you give me my Netflix.
Right. Right.
you
Yeah.
know, Small things like that. It's not the avocado toast for rent argument, but it's kind of helping stretch the little things.
Yeah. Get out of your current resources. That's a touchy one. I'm not really sure what that would all entitle to. 100%.
Yeah, I mean this person says that they worked as a caterer and they brought home leftovers. I think that's
Like
too specific.
yeah, like there are less grocery trips or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It's not something we can all do though.
Right.
The last one though I feel is it's unique again, maybe just because the way they started title these, I kind of am a little more like perplexed. But build financial community. And to me, that's just build community. And
Mm-hmm.
that's something that I hope if you haven't been able to do it the last couple of years, we've all needed to be more in touch with people. We've all needed friendship and family more than ever.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's so crucial during a recession. One thing that I did for a time during the recession, I think for a year or two, is I ended up having to move back in with my family.
Yeah.
And that's obviously kind of doing, I guess, both two and three, as I was taking advantage of, they were being very generous. They were being very nice, and I paid a little rent, but I'm sure it was cheaper than I would have.
Hmm.
And I was able to kind of lean on, I guess for me, a quote unquote resource of family.
Right.
I also had community. I was seeing my parents, who at the time weren't retired, they are now, kind of going through it, and I was able to at least feel like I wasn't alone. Like my stock portfolio that I had just started wasn't, just going to be kaput. I'm like, okay, this is long term. I have to remember that.
Right. Long term.
So yeah, so I think that's crucial.
Right. Yeah. No, I think putting yourself in, like, I guess in their words, community, putting yourself around the right friends, the right business owners, the whole 9 yards, that could benefit you to possibly eating. They could benefit you to having a babysitter. Like you said earlier, carpooling. I could see that. Just being around good people that want to help, and as a whole, you don't want to see your friends, families fail. Everyone's got each other's back, and just get through it.
Yeah, yeah. Amen to that, 100%.
Yeah.
Well, we hope that the numbers that come out, are good. Gas is getting better. Supply chains kind of still iffy, but you'll hear about it here on chat room.
Right.
We'll keep you updated as things progress.
Be safe out there.
Yeah, and as always, like, subscribe, and be here for the next video.
Yes, sir.